welcome back to Tea For Me Please. So today I wanted to talk about the chasen. So this is what's otherwise known as a tea whisk. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what it is, how they're made, as well as how to keep yours in the best shape possible. High quality tea whisks are carved by hand from a single piece of bamboo. I'm going to include a link here to a video so that you can all see how that's done. It's really quite an amazing process and I love watching it, so definitely make sure that you check that out. My whisk was made by the Tanemura family in Takayama, Japan. They are probably one of the more well-known families that do make whisks. Tango Tanemura is the current master, and he is the 20th generation of his family to make these whisks. Now, you can certainly make matcha without a whisk, but this is definitely my preferred way. I'm going to link a blog post here to how to make matcha without a whisk in case you need any help with that. So why would you use a chasen to make your matcha? First, there's definitely a lot of tradition there. These types of whisks have been used to make tea for over 500 years. I also find that it's almost kind of a moving meditation when I make matcha with this, as I'm taking the time to whisk and I'm focusing on that rather than kind of worrying about what I'm doing that day or anything else. I'm really just focusing solely on the tea, which can be a really nice thing to take a bit of a time out sometimes. I also find that it really changes the texture of the tea when you make it, and so you can use a milk frother or something like that to basically mix your matcha, but the texture does not quite come out the same as it does when you use a whisk like this. I also find that because of that, the tea does come out less bitter when you use a traditional whisk. Once you have your whisk, what's the best way to keep it? First thing to remember is to never ever use any soap, detergents, or cleaners on your whisk. Bamboo is absorbent and it will hold on to whatever chemicals you use and put that into your tea, which is definitely something you don't want. I also recommend soaking the tines of your whisk in hot water before whisking, so that way they have a chance to soften up and they'll be less brittle and less likely to break while you're whisking. This whisk has been used quite a lot for a couple of years, so it's not in perfect shape, but it still is very usable since I have been pretty diligent with taking care of it. Now, when you are whisking your matcha, you want to make sure that you're not grinding into the whisk. Sometimes that's kind of a natural thing that people will do when they first start making matcha. You want to make sure that you're just gently grazing the bottom of the bowl, but not actually pressing down. As if you do that, it will definitely beat up your whisk much faster. You definitely want to make sure that you clean your whisk immediately after use. Just rinse it with water, and that way you can make sure that there's no tea that's going to stay on. And I think that one of the most important steps is to get a holder. And so basically it has a hole in the middle that's specially designed for your whisk, and that will help to keep its shape, especially while it's drying. Which definitely helps extend the life of your whisk. Now, another thing that's important to keep in mind is often when you buy a matcha whisk at a store, they'll come in like a little plastic tube. Bamboo is a natural material and it expands with use. So that whisk will never fit back in that tube once you've used it. I know when I worked at Tivana, a lot of customers would come in so sad because they tried to cram their whisk back in and wound up breaking their whisk. So definitely make sure to you can just go ahead and throw away that tube. Do not keep your whisk in it. If you're shopping for a whisk, often they're kind of labeled by the number of tines that the whisk has. So the number of tines kind of is determined by the type of tea you want to make. So generally from 16 to about 48 tines would be used for kombucha or thick tea. If the number of tines is between 48 and 68, generally that can be used for both kombucha and usucha. And usucha is kind of what you would probably think of as a bowl of matcha, so like the really frothy, foamy kind. 68 to about 120 tines is used for usucha. The higher the number of tines is, the easier it will be to whisk. So if you're just starting out, it might be a good idea to specifically look for one with a higher number of tines. Generally about 80 to 100 is the most common that I see for sale, and that would do you just fine. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you use a chasen to make your matcha. I'd also love to hear if there's anything you'd like to see a video about or tea questions I can answer for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.